Okay,
Ready?
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. For long stretches, the Scarlet Letter focuses on Hester. Then she and Pearl disappear for a while, and the novel focuses on Arthur Dimmesdale. Which character is the main focus of this passage and why? Whose story, Hester's or Dimmesdale's, do you think the whole novel is mainly telling? Both characters equally? Explain your choice, discussing the role each character plays in the other story. Nailed it! Okay.
Alright, so personally, I believe the main story that the novel is telling is Hester's story, just because most of the story is told through Hester's perspective, and also I would say probably 70% of the book is just about Hester and her interactions, and most of the book is also through her eyes and through her interactions. It's not really including anyone else.
So I personally think that the whole novel is telling Dimmesdale's story, because since he's the father of Hester's child and Hester doesn't want him to reveal himself, that's kind of that guilt inside of him is kind of eating him alive and just making him ill, making him whip himself and just be like miserable.
Well, wouldn't it be both sides of the story? Because in the story it shows both Hester and Dimmesdale's side. Like, for example, Hester, since she has Pearl, it shows how she deals with Pearl, and then how the community wants to take her away, and Chillingworth, of course. But on Dimmesdale's side, it also shows how he deals with the grief and guilt of how Hester had the A.
And also, another good point I want to make is that the story also starts and ends with Hester. It starts with her coming out of the prison door and her being presented on a scaffold before everyone with the Scarlet Letter A, and then it also ends with her eventually coming back and dying and being buried next to Dimmesdale. But the story both starts and ends with Hester, kind of suggesting that Hester is the main character of the story.
Okay, so I feel like since Dimmesdale is also the minister of the community, he's like the highest example of Puritan faith. So he's a genuine believer, and his affair with Hester is just weighing on him, and he kind of creates conflict between his role as a spiritual leader and his personal life throughout the whole novel.
So with Roger Chillingworth, it doesn't really explore Dimmesdale's character, but I feel like the rest of the novel, Hawthorne uses a lot of allegory and similes and comparisons and things to explore Hester's psyche, and I really think her feelings are the most explored, and he really goes most in depth with her mind and her feelings and her psychological state.
Well, I feel like I found a quote on page 53, and it says, "People said another that the Reverend Master Dimmesdale, her godly pastor, takes it very grievously to heed that such a scandal should have come upon his congregation." I feel like that's just showing how the community isn't aware of how Dimmesdale is feeling, or how what he's going through, I guess, through the sin that he made.
Well, the point where you made that at the end of the story, where it still talks about Hester, like in the beginning to end, like it also talks about Dimmesdale, where he confessed his sin, and then it talked about how he ended his life at the end of the book. So it kind of talked about both, how each member ended, with Hester still taking care of Pearl, and how Dimmesdale just died because of the guilt.
Yeah, that is also true, but I also feel like Hester's character in general is really delved into the most, and it's flushed out the most. And also it's made a little more likable than any of the other characters, other than besides Pearl, maybe, but has all good traits compared to Dimmesdale's mostly bad traits of cowardice, which he eventually goes back on. But I really feel like Hester is intended to be the main character and is intended to be liked the most compared to the other characters.
I believe that Pearl is a character being focused the most in the novel, because she is described as pure, perfect, and innocent. And in the chapter of the Governor's Hall, they devote the whole time looking just for someone to adopt a Pearl from Hester, so that Hester could focus on her life without having any distractions. In the Governor's Hall, Pearl plays a really big part, and it says, but it was a remarkable attribute of this garb, and indeed of the child's whole appearance, that it irresistibly and inevitably reminded the beholder of the token which Hester Prynne was doomed to wear upon her bosom. It was the scarlet letter in another form, the scarlet letter endowed with life. The meaning of that quote is that the scarlet letter already plays a really big part as a symbol, but Pearl is like a greater symbol because, she's a living child and the product of the affair between Hester and Dimmesdale. Pearl is the most important symbol throughout the story and is looked at by the Puritan community as evil because she's the outcome of an evil act. But Hester realizes that she is changed because of Pearl, and Pearl has shown her the good side of what she did and how she's free from everything.